All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Today reciters are Namrata Mataji will be reciting in Sanskrit and Indira Mataji will be reciting in English from Canto 3, Chapter 14, verses 37 to 51. So Namrata Mataji, whenever you're ready, can you please start with invocation? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 3, chapter 14, text 37. Maitre Uvacha. Svasarga asya sinam lokayam as asanam pravepatim nivratta sandhyaniyamo bharyam aha prajapatiha.
Hare Krishna. Maitreya said, the great sage Kashipa thus addressed his wife, who was trembling because of the fear that her husband was offended. She understood that he had been dissuaded from his daily duties of offering evening prayers, yet she desired the welfare of her children in the world.
638. Kashyap uvacha aprayatya datmanaste doshan mohur tikad uta mannite sa ticharena devanamachati helanata.
The learned Kashipa said, because of your minds being polluted, because of the defilement of your particular time, because of your negligence of my directions, and because of your being apathetic to the demigods, everything was inauspicious.
39. Abhisayatas tava ahadrava apadare.
Namrita Machi, you're muted. Can't hear you.
Hare Krishna, sorry Mataji. Apadare jat ardhamauyu Lukana sapalam stream chandi muhur akranadayi syataha.
O haughty one, you will have two contemptuous sons born to your condemned womb. Unlucky woman, they will cause constant lamentation to all the three worlds.
640. Prananinam hanya amananam Dinanam akratagasam Trinam nigrahya amananam Kopi teshu mahatmasu.
They will kill poor, faultlessly living entities, torture women, and enrage the great souls.
641. Tadavishveshwara krudho Bhagvalaloka bhavanaha Hanisiyati ati avatiryasyu Yatha drina sat aparvadrik.
At the time, the Lord of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the well-wisher of all living entities, will descend and kill them, just as Indra smashes the mountains with his thunderbolts.
642. Ditiruvacha Vadam Bhagavata Saksa Suna Bodhara Bahuna Ase Putrayoramayam Ma Krudhat Brahmanad Prabhu.
Diti said, "It is very good that my sons will be magnanimously killed by the arms of the personality of Godhead with his Sudarshan weapon. O my husband, may they never be killed by the wrath of the Brahmana devotees."
43. Na brahmadanda dakthasaya na bhutabhaya dasya cha nara narakaschanugrahandi yam yam yonim aso gataha.
A person who is condemned by the Brahmana or is always fearful to other living entities is not favored either by those who are already in hell or by those in the species in which he is born.
X 44-45. Kashyapuvacha krata sokanutapena sadhyaha pratyavamar sanata bhagavati urumanacha bhave meya api chadarat putrasya eva cha putranam भावी ते केह सतं मतः कस्यन्ति यद् अयसा सुतं भागवद् यस् असासामम्.
The learned Kashyapa said, because of your lamentation, penitence, and proper deliberation, and also because of your unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and your adoration for Lord Shiva and me, one of the sons, Prahlada, of your son Hiranyakashipu, will be an approved devotee of the Lord, and his fame will be broadcast equally with that of the personality of Godhead.
46. योगेरहेन एव दुर्वर्णम् भावा यस्यन्ति साधवः निर्वेर अधिभीर आत्मनं यच्चीलम् अनुवर्तितुम्.
In order to follow in his footsteps, saintly person will try to emulate his character by practicing freedom from animosity, just as the purifying process rectify gold of inferior quality.
Next 47. Yat prasadad idam veshavam prasidati yad atmakam sasvadrik bhagavan yasya toshayate nan yaya drisha.
Everyone will be pleased with him because the personality of Godhead, the supreme controller of the universe, is always satisfied with a devotee who does not wish for anything beyond him.
48. Save Mahabhagavato Mahatma Mahanubhavo Mahatam Mahistah Pravratta Bhaktya hi Anubhavita Asye Nivesha Vaikunthamimam Vihasyati.
The topmost devotee of the Lord will have expanded intelligence and expanded influence and will be the greatest of the great souls. Due to the mature devotional service, he will certainly be situated in the transcendental ecstasy and will enter the spiritual sky after quitting this material world.
49. Alambataha silathar gunakaro hrishta paradhya vyathito dukhahiteshu abhuta satrur jagata sokagharta neda agikam kam tapam ivo durajaha.
He will be a virtuously qualified reservoir of all good qualities. He will be jolly and happy in others' happinesses, distress in others' distress, and will have no enemies. He will be a destroyer of the lamentation of all the universes like the pleasant moon after the summer sun.
Next 50. Antarbahishchamalam apchanetram svapurushe cha nugrahita Pautrasatavashi lalana lalama drasta spurat kundala mandit anam.
Your grandson will be able to see inside and outside the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose wife is the beautiful goddess of fortune. The Lord can assume the form desired by the devotee, and his face is always beautifully decorated with earrings.
Next 51. Maitre Uvacha Shrutva Bhagavatam Pautaram Datati Brahsam Putrayoscha Vadham Krishna Viditvasin Mahamanaha.
The sage Mitraya said, hearing that her grandson would be a great devotee and that her sons would be killed by Krishna, Diti was highly pleased in the mind. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 14th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled to Pregnancy of Diti in the Evening. Hare Krishna. Please forgive me for any of my mistakes, please.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the opportunity and please forgive me, sis.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Indira Mataji and Namrata Mataji, for your recitation. Welcome, dear devotees, to today's chat session. We continue reading and discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 3, chapter number 14. And today we will be discussing text number 41 to 45. Hope I got that right. As we normally do,
Yes, that's right, Prabhuji. That's right. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let's recite the Mangala Charanam prayers. Please do be unmuted mics. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutan Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gourange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So, oh, what happened? Okay. So, dear devotees, you all been following this past time, the pregnancy of Diti in the evening. Diti had felt an inclination to have children. It was an inappropriate time, but the urge was so strong. She approached her husband, and conception was going to take place, but conception took place at an inauspicious time, the time when Lord Shiva and his associates are about. And the outcome was known, that she would give birth to demoniac sons. So this conversation is taking place now between Diti and her husband Kashyap about what the future holds. And it's very interesting discussion. And seeing the predictions and the responses is very insightful and instructive to us. So in text number 41, okay, let's just backtrack first, text number 40. It's being foretold that her sons, the demonic personalities, they will kill poor, faultless living entities. They would torture women, and they would enrage great souls. And text number 41 is the consequences of their behavior. Tada Vishvara Krudo Bhagavan Bhagavalroka Bhavanaha Anisyati Avatiryaso Yatadran Sataparvadrik. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. At that time, the Lord of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the well-wisher of all living entities, will descend and kill them, just as Indra smashes the mountains with these thunderbolts. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4.8, which is Paritranaya sadhunam vinaschaya chadushkritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge, to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. The Lord descends as an incarnation to deliver the devotees and kill the miscreants. The Lord of the universe and of everything would appear to kill the sons of Diti because of their offending the devotees of the Lord. There are many agents of the Lord, such as Indra, Chandra, Varuna, and goddess Durga, or Kali, who can chastise formidable miscreants in the world. The example of mountains being smashed by a thunderbolt is very appropriate. The mountain is considered the most strongly built body within the universe. Yet it can be easily smashed by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, does not need to descend in order to kill any strongly built body. He comes down just for the sake of his devotees. Everyone is subject to the miseries offered by material nature. But because the activities of miscreants, such as killing innocent people and animals, or torturing women, are harmful to everyone, and are therefore a source of pain for the devotees, the Lord comes down. he descends only to give relief to his ardent devotees. The killing of the miscreant by the Lord is also the mercy of the Lord towards the miscreant. Although apparently the Lord takes the side of the devotee, the Lord is absolute. There is no difference between his activities of killing the miscreants and favoring the devotees. So it's being predicted by Kashyap Muni that the Lord is going to appear. He's the well-wisher of all living entities. He will descend and kill these demonic personalities, just as Indra smashes the mountains with these thunderbolts. Now, Srila Prabhupada is raising some rather interesting points in the purport. The primary point being is that it is said that Krishna appears for two purposes. One is to protect the devotees, and two is to kill the miscreants. But Prabhupada is making the point, the primary purpose actually is, and we'll discuss it in greater detail in this verse and the other verses, the primary purpose of the Lord is to protect his devotees. Because, and Prabhupada evidences why. Prabhupada says the killing part that the Lord can achieve by his agents. He has many powerful agents, and Prabhupada names a few in the purport. Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Goddess Durga, or Kali. Through his agencies, the Lord can kill miscreants. But the giving pleasure to the devotees and the protection of the devotees, which is in the Bhagavatam called Poshana, that is of special interest to the Lord. And we know from the past times of the Lord, this also has some double meaning. Because these demons of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, Ravana, Kamsa, Dantavaktra, they were actually his devotees, Jai and Vijay, who were cursed to appear as demons for 3 births. It's very interesting how, for the sake of Leela, they are demons, but there's lots of internal things going on. For example, in the pastime of the killing of Hiranyakashipu, at one stage it's mentioned that the Lord sat on the throne of Hiranyakashipu. Ordinarily, the Lord would never do that. He would never sit on the same seat as a demon. But the Lord sat on the seat of a demon who was also, knowing internally, was the devotee of the Lord. So ultimately, Krishna, the main purpose he comes down is for the sake of his devotees. That is the primary purpose of the Lord, is to perform pastimes for the pleasure of his devotees and to protect his devotees. The second interesting point that and Prabhupada, he says something here also very interesting. Prabhupada says, he comes down just for the sake of his devotees. Everyone is subject to the miseries offered by material nature, but because the activities of miscreants such as killing innocent people and animals or torturing women are harmful to everyone and therefore a source of pain for the devotees, the Lord comes down. Prabhupada is saying, Krishna does not like to see his devotees pained. Actually, there is one letter that Srila Prabhupada wrote. Just trying to find it now. Where did I put it? where Prabhupada is writing to a disciple and saying Krishna does not like to see his devotees suffering, pained, or unhappy or depressed. And whenever Krishna sees his devotees unhappy or pained, he takes action. So when the demons are persecuting animals and torturing women and causing pain to the brahmanas, the devotees of the Lord, they feel very pained because these are already living, innocent living entities, the animals, women, and brahmanas. So when these devotees see such innocent living entities being persecuted by the demons, they feel great distress, great pain, because by nature they are compassionate. And when Krishna can't see the pain of his devotees, so he feels a natural inclination to intervene himself. He doesn't want his agents to intervene. He do it himself. Now, the final interesting point I'd like to discuss on this purport, Prabhupada says something very interesting in the last two sentences. He says, the killing of the miscreant by the Lord is also the mercy of the Lord towards the miscreant. Although apparently the Lord is taking the side of his devotee. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference between his activities of killing the miscreants and favoring the devotees. So sometimes the question gets raised. Krishna says that he is equal to all. He is not partial to anyone. But we see in many situations, Krishna does seem to be partial to his devotees. So how do we reconcile that? Now, this particular question was, interestingly enough, asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Sukadev Goswami in the beginning of Canto 7. Can you see I switched to Canto 7, verse 1:1? Can you see that?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Okay. So let's just read this very, very interesting exchange that takes place between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami in the very beginning of the 7th canto. So it starts off in the first verse. King Parikshit inquired, my dear Brahmana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, being everyone's well-wisher, is equally and extremely dear to everyone. How then did he become partial like a common man for the sake of Indra and kill Indra's enemies? How can a person equal to everyone be partial to some and inimical towards others? Such a lovely question Parikshit Maharaj is asking. Such an important question he's asking. So let's see how Shukdev Goswami responds to this interesting question. How can Krishna be equal when he's seen to be partial? He's killing Indra's enemies and protecting Indra. I'll leave you to read the purport. Very beautiful purport. But let's see what Shukdev Goswami says. Maharaj Parikshit continues. Lord Vishnu himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the reservoir of all pleasure. Therefore, what benefit would he derive from siding with the demigods? What interest would he fulfill in this way? Since the Lord is transcendental, why should he fear the asuras? And how could he be envious of them? Now we read repeatedly in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the qualities of the Lord and his great devotees. And one who is on the transcendental platform, for them there is no such thing as friends and enemies. Everyone is equal. Pandita Samadarshinaha. They see with equal vision everyone, not good, bad, happiness, sadness, enemies, friends. So Maharaj Parikshit is clarifying further. And he says, "Oh, greatly fortunate and learned Brahmana, whether Narayan is partial or impartial has become a subject of great doubt. Kindly dispel my doubt with positive evidence that Narayan is always neutral and equal to everyone." And see how he phrases his questions. He's saying this is a doubt. And when we have doubts, we seek to clarify the doubts via the spiritual master. And he says, please clear this doubt by giving some positive evidence. Before I go and read what Shukdev Goswami says, does anyone know how you think Shukdev Goswami is going to respond? Or how do you all reconcile this in your mind? Let's get some of your own thoughts. Anyone? Okay, let's move on. So this is what Shukdev Goswami says. The great sage Shukdev Goswami said, "My dear king, you have put before me an excellent question. Discourses concerning the activities of the Lord, in which the glories of his devotees are also found, are extremely pleasing to devotees. Such wonderful topics always counteract the miseries of the materialistic way of life. Therefore, great sages like Narada always speak upon Srimad Bhagavatam because it gives one the facility to hear and chant about the wonderful activities of the Lord. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Vyasadeva and then begin describing topics concerning the activities of Lord Hari. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu is always transcendental to material qualities, and therefore is called Nirguna, or without qualities. Because he is unborn, he does not have a material body to be subjected to attachment and hatred. Attachment and hatred, although the Lord is always above material existence, through his spiritual potency, he appeared and acted like an ordinary human being, accepting duties and obligations, apparently like a conditioned soul. So point number one, the Lord is acting like a conditioned soul. My dear King Parikshit, the material qualities Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun all belong to the material world and do not even touch the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These three gunas cannot act by increasing or decreasing simultaneously. When the quality of goodness is prominent, the sages and demigods flourish with the help of that quality, with which they are infused and surcharged by the Supreme Lord. Similarly, when the mode of passion is prominent, the demons flourish, and when ignorance is prominent, the yakshas and rakshasas flourish. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is in everyone's heart, fostering the reactions of Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hrideshu Arjuna Tishtasi Brahmaya Sarva Bhutani Rudra Yantra Rudrani Mayaya. Krishna is within the heart of all living entities. See, Prabhupada quotes that here. Okay, let's move on. The all-pervading personality of Godhead exists within the heart of every living being. And an expert thinker can perceive how he is present, therefore, to a large or small extent. Just as one can understand the supply of fire in wood, the water in a water pot, or the sky within a pot, one can understand whether a living entity is a demon or a demigod by understanding the living entity's devotional performance. A thoughtful man can understand how such a person is favored by the Supreme Lord by seeing his actions. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead creates different types of body, offering a particular body to every living entity according to his character and fruits of activities, the Lord revives all the qualities of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. Then as the Supersoul, he enters each body and influences the qualities of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, using Sattvagun for maintenance, Rajagun for creation, and Tamagun for annihilation. So Shukadev Goswami is explaining the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's not subject to the material modes, He's not subject to the influence of time. And importantly, he understands the desires of all living entities. And the Supreme Personality of Godhead induces the time factor to act in different ways. But he is never partial. His activities are glorious. So in these verses, Shukdev Goswami is saying he's not partial. And then Shukdev Goswami says, actually, there is an incident where the great sage Narada showed how the Supreme Personality of God is impartial. And then he gave a vivid example. And what was the vivid example? The example was during the Rajasuya sacrifice, Shishupal insulted Krishna, but yet he was beheaded by the Lord and he merged into the Lord's body. So the point being made here, and it's a similar point being made in the verses we described, actually it's not possible for Krishna to see enemy and friend. It's not possible for Krishna to see anyone as enemy. Krishna cannot see, it's not within Krishna's nature to see anyone as enemy. And then to act in a way to treat him as an enemy. So Shukdev Goswami is quoting this particular historical event to say that there's proof. This is the evidence, Shukdev Goswami. You ask for evidence, here's the evidence. That Krishna killed the demon, but he gave the demon a very elevated reward. But the important thing is, Krishna doesn't see anyone as enemy. But when he looks into the heart of someone and someone is seeing Krishna as enemy, then Krishna fulfills that desire. Okay, you want to see me as enemy? I will act as enemy. Krishna is not seeing him as enemy, but Krishna is reciprocating as with that personality as his enemy. But we know the evidence that Krishna does not see him as enemy by giving him such an exalted position of liberation. And then you'll see in the next verse, immediately Diti gets that. Diti understands this principle very, very well, that Krishna cannot see anybody as enemy. And if someone sees Krishna as enemy, there is nothing but auspiciousness that befits such a person. So Ditir Uvacha Vadam Bhagavata Shakshat Shuna Bodhara Bhahuna Ashase Putrayo Mayam Makrudhad Brahmanat Prabhu. So Diti gets it. She says, yeah, Diti said, it is very good that my sons will be magnanimously killed by the arms of the personality of Godhead with his Sudarshan's weapon. O my husband, may they never be killed by the wrath of a Brahmana devotees. Very, very interesting reaction. And Prabhupada explains it beautifully in the purport. When Diti heard from her husband that the great souls would be angered by the activities of her son, she was very anxious. She thought that her sons might be killed by the wrath of the Brahmanas. The Lord does not appear when the Brahmanas become angry at someone, because the wrath of a Brahmana is sufficient in itself. He certainly appears, however, when his devotees simply become sorry. A devotee of the Lord never prays to the Lord to appear for the sake of the troubles the miscreants cause for him, and he never bothers him by asking for protection. Rather, the Lord is anxious to give protection to the devotees. Diti knew very well that the killings of a son by the Lord would also be his mercy. And therefore she says that the will and arms of the Lord are magnanimous. If someone is killed by the will of the Lord and is thus fortunate enough to see the arms of the Lord, that is sufficient for his liberation. Such good fortune is not achieved even by the great sages. So Diti is saying something very, very important here. She's saying, in such a circumstances where women, children, and brahmanas are being persecuted, two things can happen. One is the powerful brahmanas can kill such despicable persons. And when the brahmanas kill, that is worse than the Lord killing. Actually, it is completely different. If her sons were killed by the brahmanas, they would just face the worst future. The worst future. Because when the brahmanas kill, they kill because of an offense. And when one dies because of an offense, only horrible things await. But when the Lord kills, there is nothing but auspiciousness. So when she heard, my sons are going to be killed by the Lord, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Because when they've been killed by the Lord, they will see the body of the Lord. They will see the arms of the Lord. They will get the personal darshan of the Lord. And everything but auspiciousness awaits them. So it shows that Diti is very learned. She is devoted. And she has no qualms about her sons being killed by the Lord. And Prabhupada is saying here, such a killing, such a destination, it cannot be even achieved by the great sages. There are great sages who are wanting to attain liberation. There are great sages who are seeking to merge into the body of the Lord. But they can't do it. As Bhagavad Gita says, they have to wait for an appropriate time. They have to leave the body in a certain way. They have to give the chakras up. And a lot of times they are not successful. But yet just by being killed by the Lord, it is so great. Text number 43. Na brahma danda dag dasya na bhuta bayadasya cha narakas chanu grinanti yam yam yonim asogataha. A person who is condemned by a brahmana, who is always fearful to other living entities, is not favored either by those who are already in hell or by those in the species in which they are born. Purport. A practical example of a condemned species of life is the dog. Dogs are so condemned that they never show any sympathies to their contemporaries. Very, very interesting. It is that sometimes when someone is condemned by a brahmana, they are condemned to become an animal. And sometimes they could be condemned to become a dog. And is not favored by those who are already in hell or by those in the species in which he is born. So you see dogs, sometimes they fight among themselves. They are fighting in their own species. And the dogs, even in hell, sometimes the dogs are condemned. So someone who's condemned by Brahmana is not very favored. So text 44 and 45, the last verses for today. Kashyapu vacha krita shokanutapena sajya pratya vamarshanat bhagavati ura manaccha bhave mayapi chadharat putrachaiva cha putranam bhavitaika satam mataha gashyanti yad yasa sudham bhagavad yasasa samam. The learned Kashyap said, because of your lamentation, Because of your lamentation, penitence, and proper deliberation, and also because of your unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and your adoration for Lord Shiva and me, one of your sons, Prahlad, of your son Hiranyakashipu, will be an approved devotee of the Lord, and his fame will be broadcast equally with that of the Personality of Godhead. So Kashyap is now speaking to Diti, and he is telling her, because of your lamentation, meaning because of you going to lose your two sons, because of your penitence and proper deliberation meaning seeing things in their proper light, about your sons being killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and because of your unflinching faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and your adoration for Lord Shiva and me. So he's mentioning three personalities. Firstly, attitude, and then a faith in the Lord Shiva, and a husband. Because of this attitude and because of a faith, something wonderful is going to happen. And what is that wonderful thing? The son of a son, that meaning a grandson, who's referred to here as a son. Her grandson is going to be an approved devotee of the Lord. So Kashyap is giving his wife some hope. He says it looks hopeless here. It looks hopeless that the sons we're going to get are going to be demons, but the hope is they're going to be liberated by the Lord. And more wonderfully, there is nothing more wonderful, nothing more auspicious for any family. There is nothing more auspicious for any family than one of their family members becoming a pure devotee of Lord Krishna. And then he says something very interesting here. He's saying this devotee, his fame will be broadcast equally with that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now we see this very, very true. The pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Nishingadev is described in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there is, if I'm understood correctly, there are 10 chapters describing this pastimes in the 7th canto. And if one analyzes the 10 chapters, 7 chapters glorifies Prahlad Maharaj, and 3 chapters glorify Lord Nishingadev. So what Kashyap is saying is even more true. Kashyap is saying that devotee, your grandson Prahlad, he will be glorified equally with the Lord. But we see here in the Bhagavatam that the devotee is glorified by Srila Vyasadeva more than the Lord. 7 chapters Prahlad, 3 chapters Lord Nishingadev. There's one pastime. One Srila Prabhupada was with his disciple Guru Das and another disciple. They were in Prabhupada's room, and Prabhupada's deities were there. So at one point, Guru Das was so appreciative of his godbrother that he started to glorify his godbrother. He's doing so much wonderful service. He's got so many good qualities, and he's glorifying. And then suddenly, he realized what he was doing. He was glorifying a devotee in front of the Lord. Now we know from the Shastras, it is said that one should not worship other living entities in the presence of the Lord. Generally, when we worship even Tulsi Devi in the mornings in the temple, we close the curtains. The curtains are closed. So he said, "Oh, Prabhupada, I'm sorry, Prabhupada. You've described in the Nectar of Devotion that one should not glorify another devotee in front of the Lord, and I've made an offense. I'm glorifying this devotee in front of your deities. And Prabhupada said, no, 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 no offense. No offense. Prabhupada said, Krishna is already glorified. But Krishna becomes more happy when his devotee is glorified. So there is no offense. There is no offense because Krishna is very pleased when his devotees are glorified. And we know the whole purpose of life is to please Krishna, to see that Krishna is pleased. So it's a nice verse that Kashyap is saying that Prahlad is going to be glorified even more than the Lord. And this was true. So the response of what apparently seems like a disastrous situation, these verses, they bring hope. They tell us about the wonderful qualities of the Lord of being equal, and in being equal there's only auspiciousness, and how devotees respond to such situation, Diti and Kashyap. Some nice instructions for us. Hare Krishna. I stop here. Dear devotees, any questions, comments, reflections that anyone has? Everyone's there?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank
Hare
you for your
Krishna.
class. Very interesting. I like the end bit where you said that even though Diti made the mistake, she was forgiven, and also the end comes very nice. The ending is very good, that although the sons are going to be killed by the Lord, but the grandson is going to be a great devotee. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Indira Mataji. Anyone else has any thoughts, realizations, reflections? Okay. Thank you for listening to me rambling on. All glories to your service, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. Vanchakalpatarubhyasya,
Sindhubhya Evacha
Patitanam
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo.
Anantakoti Vaishnava
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.